Welcome to 99th Monkey Liberty News for Tuesday, September 2nd, 2014. The first article today is from Infowars.com. Moms speak out on CDC vaccine autism cover-up. Delivery for Ms. Cohen, videograms from the moms. And this was sent as a retweet by John Rappaport, and John Rappaport is still really pounding this story to get it out, and this is his Twitter page, and yesterday he was asking that people would retweet some of his tweets about these stories, and if you're on Twitter and you feel so inclined, I think that it's very worthwhile to retweet some of his tweets about the story so that it gets out and more people are aware of this. Another InfoWars story, Whistleblower claims he was set up in retaliation for criticizing Obama. Nobel Peace Prize nominee Jim Garrow arrested after illegal gun was planted at his home. So if you follow Jim Garrow, you enjoyed hearing him speak and appreciate what he's doing for the cause of liberty. You might want to remember him in prayer. Over the weekend, Joan Rivers had some kind of surgery. I don't know all the details, but it didn't go extremely well, and she was placed in a medically induced coma for a period of time. And now, this morning, Joan Rivers reportedly brought out of coma as family considers lawsuit. And, you know, just thinking about cause and effect, well, why did the surgery go wrong? What's going on with her? I do not personally think it's a coincidence that this happened fairly shortly after she made the statement about President Obama being gay and Michelle being transgender. And I have to say, I think I mentioned this video of Joan Rivers originally a few weeks ago when it came out, but I'm not sure I really attached a whole lot of credence to it, and I think I'm giving it a little bit more credence now that there's a medical issue with Joan Rivers, and it'll be interesting to see whether she has a full recovery or not. If she doesn't, even if she does, this might have been some kind of a warning to her. And I paid more attention to this video when I watched it now. Joan Rivers calls President Obama gay, says First Lady is tranny. And as I was watching it, I realized she's an older lady. I think she's in her 80s. Yeah, she still looks great thanks to plastic surgery. But I think she's in her 80s, and she was arriving home tired after probably a grueling day. She performed a wedding ceremony. And watching this video again, it almost like she almost regrets. She realizes that she has misspoken by letting this secret out, and I don't consider this gossip. I mean, in this context now, especially considering what she is going through in the hospital, and just, I guess it's ultimately just evidence of how these people work, that anybody with a voice who dares to expose them has to pay at some point. They're made to pay. And we know that there have been people in Hollywood who haven't been able to work after they've said critical things about Obama. And there's been a lot of that that's broken on InfoWars. Alex Jones has talked about people who are very aware of that. And of course, Charlie Sheen lost his job on 2.5 Men after he came out with that 9/11 challenge a few years ago. So It's just all, they're pieces of a puzzle. It's not that this by itself is so significant, but when considered in the larger context, I think this is significant, and I hope that Joan Rivers survives this ordeal. From Freedom Watch, Obama, Kerry, Clinton, and UN Secretary General sued for racketeering in providing material support to terrorist Hamas in war to annihilate Israel. RICO complaint filed by Larry Klayman and Doe plaintiffs. I'm not sure this is a new article, and I believe that I'm just becoming aware of it for the first time. I don't think this is something that I've seen in the past. And, you know, none of these lawsuits really seem to get anywhere. I think I'm ultimately just hoping for enough of a groundswell of understanding what the government has been doing to us, that we do indeed have a corporate government, not a republic, that once that groundswell occurs, there will be enough of an outcry that restoration must come. And of course, people like Benjamin Fulford keep saying that the American military is no longer going along with the Cabal program, and I think I pretty much believe that. And there's another deadline here. China asked to stop financing U.S.-based Nazionist organized crime syndicate. And every once in a while we hear that there's a deadline, that the Fed really is out of money at this point, and somehow they always manage to escape that deadline, sidestep it, whatever. Evidently, according to Fulford, there is a deadline on September 30th, and at that point, the Federal Reserve will be completely bankrupt, and the Chinese, who have helped at times in the past, have been asked by the White Dragon Society to stop financing the Nazionist crime syndicate that has illegally taken over the Republic of the United States of America. So, again, another deadline. Is it real? Is it true? Will it change anything? September 30th? I think it's worth watching. As I've mentioned, everybody, you know, there's a lot of buzz that September could be a rough month because the Cabal will be playing their last hole cards. David Wilcock made some comments on Benjamin Fulford's post, and I think this is the most interesting one. It does appear that Cabal people know they are direct descendants of these fallen angels that were not Earth humans to begin with. They are also still angry about the Great Flood having wiped most of them out, and therefore see the good guys, that is, God, as evil for having done it. That is an interesting perspective, and certainly seems likely. And David Wilcock is filled with hope and disseminates a lot of hope about the potential for the Cabal to be overthrown and restoration to come. Last week I had the stories about the Ice Bucket Challenge, and it kind of inspired me to look into natural cures for ALS. And these are just a couple that I found from electroherbalism.com, ALS regimen. And I had done a search for, I think, ALS and Rife. There is a protocol for that has been successfully used. And there's just some information here about overcoming ALS naturally. And I found this interesting. I also did a search for ALS and coconut oil / bulletproof coffee. And the doctor, one of the doctors who works with the bulletproof protocol, has had success with somebody with ALS. There's a man with ALS with Gehrig's disease. To me, that's the worst. Most of these people maintain normal cognition, but they become weaker and weaker and weaker until finally they can't eat and they can't breathe. It's a horrible disease, but this man contacted me after he had been using coconut oil for about a year. He watched a YouTube interview that I have, and he started taking. He got himself up to 9 tablespoons a day. He contacted me after a year, and he had actually stabilized over that time. This is a disease that you do progress over a year. You just do get worse. He had actually increased the muscle mass in his legs. Now he's almost 2 years out, and he's still stable. He has not gotten worse, and his muscle mass has continued to increase in his legs. So these natural cures just are out there, and they're very viable, and even people who don't want to make a lot of changes in their lives can add coconut oil to their diet. It's delicious. It really is a boon to a lot of food flavors. So that's the good news of the day. You know, there are natural cures, and nobody has to pour ice water on their head and donate $95 million to help people with ALS recover. Thank you for tuning in for today's 99th Monkey Liberty News. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. Hoping that you will love one another, take care, and enforce the Bill of Rights.